Assalamu alaikum. Today we're talking about the issue of adding composite as core material in intracoronal or extracoronal restorations. Sometimes we need to build up the middle of the tooth to allow us to add to it the prosthesis we're going to do later. And most of the core material buildups are done by composites, and composites have filler and resin, and the resin, if it's in contact with oxygen, it will not cure. So even if I'm placing the light cure very close to this, it will not cure the whole composite. The surface will keep wet, meaning the resin did not cure. Now this wetness is more like an oil or a gel consistency, okay? So it's more like an oil or gel consistency, and this will cause many problems. So wherever we are adding new layers of composite, leave this air inhibited layer. It will be a binding for the next layer. If we're still layering more composite on, leave this air inhibited layer. It will bind the old layer with the new layer, so we are building up composite core. But what if we're on the surface? This is the last layer and we want to cure this. If we don't inhibit the oxygen coming in close contact with the resin, to prevent this area or region of composite from developing from the first place, we can inhibit oxygen. How can we do that? By gels. There are specific gels that react with oxygen and then not allow the oxygen to come in contact with the resin. It could also be by matrices. If we place a matrix, a core build-up matrix, there are now some fine tools where they are have some shapes of the core that we need for teeth. They are premolar shapes, molar shapes. These matrices prevent the oxygen from coming into close contact with the composite we built, and they prevent the oxygen inhibited layer. So using these two. But what if we're doing it freehand? We're not using any of these material. What will happen? The cementation will have a problem. We will have a problem with the temporary cementation if we're going to place a temporary over it. So we need to make sure that we have to remove that material if we're going to do another procedure with another material. So if we're going to do a temporization, if we're going to go into impression, if we are going to cementation, so any other procedure with the new material other than the composite itself, we have to remove this layer before these new material come in contact. Even with scanners, sometimes we need to do a scanner spray. The scanner spray, okay, the intraoral scanners, their sprays also are interfered with the presence of this layer. So all of this means that we have to remove this layer. How to remove it? The most common is using alcohol. It's 70 to 90% alcohol. You have to rub it in with a pellet or a cotton pellet or a cotton bud, and you make sure that you rub the alcohol in very well, because if you don't rub it, also it's not able to do it chemically. You need mechanical abrasion of the surface. You can do it with polishing systems, by bare, by rubber cup discs, by cups, by rubber cups, or even polishing brushes. Whatever we do, mechanical polishing also removes it. And make sure that after everything you have to wash it and rinse. So washing and rinsing is part of the removal process, okay? There is another problem if we leave this in temporization. We're going to concentrate more on the temporization. So we said the oil inhibited layer interferes with impression, with cements, the final cements, the scanners, whatever, they interfere with all procedures afterwards. But let us concentrate on the temporization phase. And this is why, by the way, why I done this video. My student said that he had placed a temporary crown, and now it's not coming out, okay? It's not coming out. This temporary crown or bridge is not coming out. I told him, how did you retain it? He said, by pinpoint acid etching and bonding. I told him, was there a core material of composite? He said yes. So because the temporary is part of a composite, it's a type of a composite, and the core air inhibited layer is also composite. They bound together. So it's not only point etching and bonding. It's now full core bonding to the temporary. So the only way that he could remove the temporary to actually drill it off, okay? There is no other option. He had to drill it off because it's bounded to the air inhibited layer. There is another problem with long-term temporization. Now, the air inhibited layer will not stay as it is. It is trapping bacteria. It traps attracts moisture, okay? It also attracts plaque and all of the polysaccharides attached to it. So all of these are attracted in this air-inhibited layer beneath the temporary. This will cause the breakdown either of the temporary material or the core material itself, and even might cause a failure of the core material by microleakage because it's failing at this point, where is the point of the presence of the air-inhibited layer. So this might cause failure of the core, not only the temporization. The temporary cement itself, the temporary cement does not bind to this material as well, okay? And we might have another problem. And we also have another problem where it might affect the gingiva because it's extracting plaque. So the gingival tissue reaction will be unfavorable, and we will have inflamed gingiva under these temporaries by the plaque and the bacteria leaking into the space left by the oily gel air-inhibited layer of the resin itself. Okay. Also, if I'm going to do afterwards, after this long temporization, I'm going to do procedure for final impressions. And I'm going to do final polyvinyl siloxane. This is interfered. You will not take any accuracy, and it will, because it's totally hydrophobic. The material is like an oily base. Even with hydrophobic material, impression material, it still does not react very well, and you will get an empty space. This does not, the wetting of the impression material over this air-inhibited layer is very, very poor. You will not get a correct impression if you're going to use polyvinyl siloxane. Even if you're using scanners, the sprays for the scanners are not do not spread evenly over the surface that has this composite, the air-inhibited layer. So we make sure that you also, with the scanners, these are not well accepted. Then in the final cementation, you're not cementing to an air-inhibited layer. You are even if this cement is resin, you're not using this air-inhibited layer because now it's contaminated. It's even not the clean material anymore. So the final cementation of the resin, this will not adhere to the tooth surface and will cause microleakage and failure and debonding afterwards. So debonding at the permanent cementation, debonding at the temporization stage, all happen because of the presence of this layer. So make the long story short, remove air inhibited layer of composite in any procedure that you do. Thank you very much.